Step over this way, please. Get out of the line. Next. Passport, please. Welcome to the United States, ma'am.
I wish that I could stop feeling that I want to be an Irish girl in Ireland.
Homesickness is like most sicknesses. It will pass.
This movie for me, and so many other things about it, but it puts such a human face on the immigrant experience. And I'm wondering, John, is that what attracted you? Because you yourself are an immigrant from Ireland to Britain, right?
Yes, it is. I mean, you know, Colm Tóibín's novel that the film is based on, for me, it's a profoundly important story, and not just about Ireland and not just about America, but because it was the first story that I came across that absolutely got what it feels like to emigrate completely right. And it's something to do, I think, with the fact that you follow a character from their homeland to their new country and then back again. So you get to have a full experience of what happens, which is, you know, you're obviously in your new country, you're not from America, but when you go back home, you're not quite from there anymore either. And he nailed that, and of course it's in very strong relief in this film then, because it's a choice between two countries and two men. But it was also somehow the fact that it was a story from the point of view of a young woman that felt completely fresh and felt like it was something which wasn't a period piece, in a sense. It does the opposite to the tone in which the conversation about a lot of immigration happens, which is it tends to be dehumanizing. People tend to be viewed as a massive sort of them that needs to be kept out with walls or whatever it is. And if you're moved or touched by this one tiny story, maybe that softens your attitude to it. And you know, it was Arthur Miller who said, lack of imagination will be the death of all of us. And I think the purpose of any good story is to sort of expand the spirit and to see the world through somebody else's eyes, another person's shoes.
You know, initially when I had read the script, to me, it was my mother and father's story. They had, just like everyone else really so far who has seen it, everyone's been able to find some parallel for themselves, you know, whether they're the ones who left or the ones who have been left behind. And it's an incredibly personal story for me, and it's one really that, like, a few people have kind of asked me, did I do any research or anything like that into sort of the lives of an immigrant? But I had grown up with them. I had grown up listening to stories from my mum and dad, work that they had done and people who they had met and the kind of highs and lows. And this was a city that really made them who they were. And then by the time we actually made the film, which was maybe about a year after I met John, I had moved away from home. And so the connection kind of deepened again because I was homesick. I wasn't even sort of out of that place yet. So it meant that every single day, literally with every single scene, regardless of how big or small they were, it kind of knocked me off my feet because it really felt like through Nick's writing, we were capturing something special. So.
How did it come about, development of this?
I read the book quite early on when it came out. A friend recommended it to me. And I found it profoundly moving when I read it. My mother left Dublin in 1951, the same year that Ailish went to Brooklyn. But my mum went to New Zealand. And I was born in New Zealand and then moved to London in the early 90s. And my mother was homesick for a big part of her sort of married life. She missed Ireland desperately. I feel very torn, very pulled back to my homeland, and you start to feel this kind of quite displaced, actually, like where is home? Once you've left, you can't really go back. And the book is quite she's quite internal in the book, and I thought, how do you dramatise that? I wasn't sure about whether it would be a film, and the more I thought about it, I thought it's a really universal story. I also thought maybe I'm just having too personal reaction to it. I went to New York at kind of Easter time to refocus, saw the book in a bookstore and thought, I must check on the rights, I'm sure they're long gone. And just by chance, I met Colm Tóibín that weekend through my friend, the rare book dealer. And we met at this book fair at the Armory in New York, and we got sort of chatting. And anyway, by the end of our sort of chat, lunch, he said, if you want the rights, it's yours.
Wow. And John, you came into it at what point?
At the point that they had a script from Nick. I had read it for pleasure a few years earlier, and then there was a sort of lucky happenstance, or unlucky for the moment, which is Finola called my agent to be told I wasn't available. I was making another film, but thankfully she made a second call, and I had finished that film, and then and they had a screenplay by then, and so I got Nick's screenplay and adored it.
Great. One of the aspects, Saoirse, that I really liked is this is also a movie about women bonding in many different ways. You come to America, you live in this boarding house with all these other women and things. You're torn in with your mother in Ireland. There's many different aspects of the female experience here.
Yeah, there is, and I think it's really unusual, unfortunately, to see a film that, for the most part, is motivated by women's interactions with each other. It was a wonderful way to showcase how insightful and interesting and entertaining a conversation can be between women. For me, even though we have these two loves, we have Donald Gleeson, who plays Jim back in Ireland, and Emery, who plays Tony in New York, and these two men essentially represent the two lives that are on offer to her. For me, I always felt like the real heart of the story was one woman being kind to another and helping her to grow into the person that she's supposed to be. And so we see by the end of the film, she essentially takes on the role of someone who helped her near the beginning of her story. And it's just, I remember when we shot that scene, that was when everything kind of clicked for me. Because I certainly felt that when I moved away, that my relationship to the women in my life just really kind of strengthened, and I took on this new respect for I guess their strength, and their ability to face things head on, and that's something that the film really celebrates, I think.